But by morning, her absence was impossible to ignore. There was no coordination, no direction, no urgency. My daughter is out there somewhere, and no one here knows what they're doing. There's a silence in the Vermont woods that doesn't feel natural. Not just peaceful, not just quiet. It's the kind of stillness that seems like it's watching. By December 1st, 1946, the leaves had dropped from the trees along the long trail. Cold rain had come and gone. The wind had stripped the canopy to bare limbs. The tourists had packed up. The campers had retreated. But somewhere out there, deep in that silence, a teenage girl in a red parka disappeared. She wasn't the first, and she won't be the last. This is the story of Paula Welden, a disappearance that sparked outrage, launched a state police force, and left a permanent scar on the land we now call the Bennington Triangle. And it all starts with one quiet step into the woods. Paula Jean Welden was born in October of 1928 in Stamford, Connecticut. She was the first of 4 daughters born to William and Jeanette Welden, a well-off family with deep New England roots. Her father, William Archibald Welden, which just sounds like a super rich dude, worked as a design engineer for Revere Copper and Brass Company. A driven, prominent man with ties to politicians and industrialists, William was not one to let questions go unanswered. Her mother, Jeanette, was quieter, a homemaker and socialite who remained largely in the background when the story broke. Paula was, by all accounts, brilliant, curious, and reflective, the kind of teenager who drew strength from solitude. She was described as artistic, cerebral, and a bit withdrawn, but not in a concerning way. She wasn't a loner, exactly, but she was intensely independent. She enrolled at Bennington College, a small liberal arts college nestled in the wooded hills of southwestern Vermont. The school was only 14 years old at the time of Paula's disappearance. Founded in 1932 as a women's college dedicated to arts and progressive thinking. It attracted a different kind of student. Free spirits, poets, dancers, thinkers. Paula fit right in. She studied the fine art and design. Some sources say she was considering switching to botany. Others suggest she'd taken an interest in physics. Her passions were varied. Her path wasn't fixed. In the fall of 1946, Paul was living in Dewey House dormitory on campus. She was halfway through her sophomore year and had no known enemies, no controversies, and no baggage. At least, not the kind you can trace with a paper trail. But something was off that weekend. Many of her classmates had gone home for the holiday. Paula stayed behind, whether it was to focus on schoolwork, take time for herself, or for another reason entirely. Nobody knows. What is known is that morning, Paula worked a double shift in the Bennington College dining hall. Witnesses say she seemed subdued, tired, maybe a little distracted. She ate nothing, she declined plans with others, and she returned to her room around 2 p.m., changed her clothes, and left again by 2:30. This time, she told her roommate, Elizabeth Betty Parker, that she was going for a walk. She didn't bring her purse, she didn't carry a bag, no trail map, no food, no flashlight, no ID. just the clothes on her back. A red parka with a fur-lined hood, blue jeans, lightweight sneakers, a small wristwatch, a college textbook. Some claims she tucked it under her arm before heading out. It was around 45 to 50 degrees outside, so no snow on the ground, clouds moving in. The last anyone saw of her on campus was when she cut across the lawn, heading for the main road. From there, she began a walk that took her straight into local folklore. So let's get into the sightings here. 3 p.m., a man in downtown Bennington, Louise Knapp, would later report picking up a young woman matching Paula's description while driving north out of town. He said she flagged him down and asked to be dropped off near the trailhead of the long trail, roughly 3 miles outside of town. She didn't seem nervous, according to Knapp, just calm, maybe distant. He dropped her off near a place called Fayetteville, a rural junction just west of the Glastonbury Mountain, a place already steeped in strange legends and older disappearances. At 3:45, 2 hikers coming down the trail later told authorities they saw a girl in a red jacket heading north into the forest. She appeared to be walking alone, purposefully, as if she knew where she was going. 4 p.m., the sun was beginning to dip behind the ridgeline. Temperatures were dropping. The girl vanished into the trees. That was the last time anyone ever saw Paula Welden. When Paula didn't return that night, her roommate assumed she had stayed out late, maybe even with someone. Paula had no known boyfriend, but she was private. She didn't often share the details of her personal life, and curfew at Bennington was loosely enforced, especially for upper-class women. But by morning, her absence was impossible to ignore. She'd missed classes, skipped meals. No one had seen her since the day before. By Monday afternoon, college staff contacted her parents, and that's when things got serious. When Paula's father received the call, he left Stanford immediately and drove through the night to Vermont. What he found infuriated him. The local sheriff's office had taken a basic missing persons report, but no search had begun. There was confusion over jurisdiction. Bennington had no central police department at the time, and the state police didn't exist yet. So William took matters into his own hands. He rallied college administrators, called state officials, spoke to the press, and personally joined the search parties. His frustration was clear in early interviews. Quote, "There was no coordination, no direction, no urgency. My daughter is out there somewhere, and no one here knows what they're doing." Ooh, goosey bumps, dude, goosey bumps. As a father, I feel like I'd be just as frustrated, dude. That's real. That's dad right there, you know? Within 48 hours, the FBI was contacted, but they declined to take the case. There was no evidence of a crime, no ransom demand, no confirmed abduction. That didn't sit well with Mr. Welden. He began hiring private investigators, paying for ads, demanding daily reports. He refused to go home until he found out what happened to his daughter. But Vermont, in December, had already started to turn, and time was slipping. Over the next week, an all-out search effort launched. By December 5th, nearly 1,000 people had joined the hunt. Searchers included Bennington College students and faculty, local volunteers, National Guardsmen, Boy Scout troops, experienced hikers and trackers, 2 bloodhound teams flown in from New Hampshire. The long trail and surrounding woods were searched on foot, horseback, and from the air. Streams were dragged, outbuildings and cabins were broken into, local logging roads were canvassed, and yet not a single clue turned up. No fabric, no boot print, no notebook, no blood, no broken brush. The dogs caught a faint scent at the trailhead, but lost it quickly, likely due to the rain that had fallen the night before. By December 10th, the official search was scaled back. Paula Welden had disappeared without a trace. And we all know already, just from the first disappearance, there's nothing giving you any guidance to anything. As the official search scaled back, the rumors flared up. The first major break, or so it seemed, came from Fall River, Massachusetts, roughly 90 miles southeast of Bennington. A waitress working at a roadside diner claimed she saw a young woman matching Paula's description days after the disappearance. She was with an older man who appeared controlling, even agitated. According to the waitress, the girl seemed nervous and didn't speak much. When the man went to the bathroom, she reportedly leaned in and whispered, "Help me." The waitress was so disturbed that she contacted the local police. A sketch was drawn and reports were sent to Vermont. But the lead went cold. The waitress later admitted she didn't recall the exact date. The diner didn't keep camera logs or receipts with names. And no trace of Paula was found in the area. Was it really her? A case of mistaken identity? Or something even stranger? Other reports began to trickle in. A hunter claimed he saw a red flash of color in the trees. A coat, he thought. But when he reached the spot, nothing was there. Ooh, what if it's like you go out there and you get like sucked into this portal and then you're like trying to find your way back, but all you're doing is walking through like the other dimension, and like but people are able to like get a glimpse of you. Oh, that'd be nuts. A couple hiking near Glastonbury Mountain claimed they heard faint singing in the woods, like a girl's voice, just days after Paula's vanished. They followed the sound for almost 20 minutes before it stopped suddenly, mid-note. A woman in Albany, New York, reported seeing a barefoot girl in a red coat running through a parking lot before being pulled into a car. That lead also went nowhere. The problem with these sightings was consistency. Everyone wanted to help. Everyone wanted to believe they were a part of the story. But without any proof, each report added more fog to an already dark forest. As weeks passed, three main theories began to emerge. Each had its champions. Each had its flaws. Theory 1, that Paula had slipped and fallen, possibly into a ravine, crevasse, or river, and succumbed to exposure. Vermont winters were brutal, and even a mild drop in temperature could prove deadly with no supplies. But searchers had covered every trail, every stream, every ledge, and outcropping. Not a single thread of evidence was found. Theory 2 gained traction thanks to Paula's father and a growing public paranoia about lone women traveling. Could someone have followed her into the woods or intercepted her before she even got there, which hikers saw her approaching? Locals point fingers at Lewis Knapp, which that would probably be the person, right? The man who gave her a ride, cleared by polygraph. A reclusive logger known to patrol the woods near Glastonbury, but no evidence ever surfaced. An unidentified man seen loitering at the trailhead days earlier. One newspaper, the Burlington Free Press, ran the headline, quote, "Killer in the Pines?" And Theory 3, surprisingly, was floated by a few people close to the investigation, including one of the early private detectives, The idea was that Paula, feeling pressure or depression, orchestrated her own vanishing. The walk, the red coat, the lack of supplies, it was all misdirection. She caught a second ride, disappeared to start over, but there's no real support for it. Paula left no messages, took no money, had no contacts elsewhere. She was reportedly close with her sisters. She'd made no prior attempts to flee before, and emotionally, her friends said she was stressed, but not unstable. Sad, maybe, but not suicidal, not reckless. In the end, none of these theories gave the Weldens closure. By mid-December 1946, Paula's story had reached nationwide circulation. The Associated Press picked it up. Major papers in Boston, New York, Chicago, and even LA ran features of the mystery. Headlines included, "The co-ed who vanished," "No footprints in the snow," "Trail of questions, where is Paula Welden?" Her red coat became iconic, symbolic. People in Vermont began to say things like, "Don't wear red on the trail. That's what happened to the Welden girl." Radio stations across New England broadcast updates multiple times per day. Even Canadian outlets picked up the story. And in the middle of it all, William Welden, still in Vermont, still searching, still furious. He's criticized the lack of coordination, accused law enforcement of negligence, demanded federal oversight, called out the Vermont governor by name. Dude's coming in hot. Eventually, he pulled back, not because he had given up, but because he had run out of things to chase. The forest wasn't talking. For all its confusion, grief, and speculation, Paula Welden's disappearance led to something concrete, something Vermont had never had before. In 1947, just a few months after her case went cold, the state legislature approved the creation of the Vermont State Police. Before this, Vermont had no centralized law enforcement agency. Small towns had part-time sheriffs, game wardens, and constables, but no uniform structure or training. Cases like Paula's fell between the cracks, too big for the town, too murky for the federal involvement. But the chaos surrounding her disappearance forced the state's hand. The Paula Welden case was cited directly in the debates that created the force. "We failed this family," one lawmaker said on the floor. Quote, "and we'll fail the next unless we build something better." By July 1st, 1947, Vermont's first class of state troopers had been sworn in. Their first cold case file, Paula Welden. They never solved it, but they never closed it either. The trail Paula walked still exists. Hikers trek it every year, some out of curiosity, some out of respect, a few in quiet defiance of the legend. One journalist who walked the trail in 1994 wrote, "It felt colder than it should have, and at one bend, where a red maple leans over the ridge, I swear I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, and nothing. But I didn't look long. I just walked faster." There's a simple wooden sign at the trailhead now. It doesn't mention Paula by name, but people know. They always know. Locals say the forest keeps her, that her spirit never left. Others say it's not her that lingers, but whatever took her. Even hikers who don't believe in the paranormal admit something's different out there. Quote, "It's quiet," one said, but not a peaceful quiet. It's like the forest is holding its breath. To this day, the case remains open, but inactive. There's no digital file, No updated suspect list, no forensic archive. Everything we know about Paula's disappearance lives in newspaper clippings, library microfilm, and oral history. The official record ends in the 1950s. But the questions haven't changed. Why did she go alone? Why didn't she tell anyone where she was going? Why take no supplies, no food, and no money? Why has nothing, absolutely nothing, ever been found? In 2016, on the 70th anniversary of her disappearance, a small group of local historians held a memorial hike. They walked the same path she did, same day, same time. At 4:10 p.m., they stopped and listened. They said it... Ooh, I already got chills. They said it was the quietest moment they'd ever experienced. Not a bird, not a breeze, as if the forest itself was waiting. They left the red flower at the trailhead and walked back out. So what really happened? We may never know. But if you ever hike the long trail and the wind shifts just right, if you hear something moving behind you and turn to find nothing there, it might just be the forest breathing. Or it might be her, still walking, still lost. Or maybe she's not lost at all. Maybe she found something we weren't meant to see. Some paths aren't meant to end. Some stories aren't meant to resolve. And some names become a part of the land. Paula Welden is one of them. So this was episode 3 of the Bennington Triangle series. A disappearance, a trail, a legend. But this isn't over. I've got another episode coming up for you. It's episode 4, The Man Who Vanished from the Window Seat. And I think you're really going to like that one. So sit tight. And we'll see you in the next one. And as always, sources will be in the description and also be coming up here shortly. And thank you for watching.